Hi friends, it's Mads. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a dragon scale dog snood. This can be made to fit any size dog. You will just need to adjust the ribbing length and the number of rows you do depending on if your dog is a large dog or a smaller dog. I have made this to fit a greyhound, so if you have a greyhound you can pretty much follow along exactly, but you can use any weight of yarn, any hook size that you like, and adjust the pattern accordingly. So let's get started. For this snood, I will be using Ferris wheel yarn in the colorway Sprinkles. This is a worsted weight acrylic yarn. You could use any yarn weight or fiber that you'd like. Just remember to adjust your hook size accordingly. I'm using my 5mm Clover or More hook, which is the recommended hook size for this yarn. Optional extras include a row counter, which will be useful for your ribbing rows because we do need to end on a multiple of 6. And a stitch marker, which can help you keep track of the start of your round when we do the actual snood. So these are optional. Totally use them if you want to, or you can ditch them, completely up to you. So let's get started with the ribbing section. So go ahead and chain the length that you want your ribbing to be. Keep in mind we don't want a big ribbing section. We'll be ribbing at the bottom and the top of the snood, and the more ribbing you do, the less of the actual dragon stitch will fit in your snood, depending on the size of your dog's neck. So I'm just going to go ahead and chain 5 plus 1 for a turning chain, so a total of 6. And then I'm going to skip my first chain on the hook and single crochet into the remaining 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5. Oops, my yarn got a bit caught there. And 5. So that counts as your first row of ribbing. So go ahead and mark that off on your row counter if you choose to use one. Now let's chain 1 and turn. And in the back loops of the single crochets that you just created, we are going to do single crochets. So just in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, and my last one, which is number 5. So that is my second row. And we're basically going to repeat that until we have the length that we want. So just in the back loops only. So just chain 1, turn, and single crochet into the back loops. 2, 3, 4, and number 5. That's row number 3. So go ahead and repeat those steps. So single crochet in the back loop only, chain 1 at the end of each round and turn until you have a strip of ribbing that fits comfortably around your dog's neck. Please keep track of your rows because we want to end on a multiple of 6 for the next part of the snood. I'll see you at the end. Once you are happy with the length of your ribbing and you have ended on a multiple of 6 rows, I've got 66, we can then join the 2 ends together to create the base of our snood. So to do that, let's chain 1 and turn our work. We then need to make sure that our work isn't twisted and connect the two ends like this, hold them together. And we will then go through both loops of the single crochet as well as that original chains that we did to start our work and slip stitch them together. So I'm going to go through my first single crochet and that first chain there, and slip stitch together. So that's our first one. I've got a ribbing that is 5 single crochets long, so I've got to do 5 slip stitches. You can do as many as you created your ribbing to be. 2, 3, 4, and my last one, number 5. So you should now have a connected piece, and that slip stitch that you did will basically look like another piece of ribbing, so it kind of disguises it a little bit. Obviously, if you're using variegated yarn like I am, you can sort of see the beginning and the end, but I don't think it matters too much. Now, just to make this edging a little bit neater, we're going to single crochet into each row that we did. So each wall of ribbing that you see here, you've got to do 2 single crochets between each one. So this is one wall, this is the other wall. We do 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then between these two, 3, 4, 5, 6, and continue until the end. I also like to just crochet over my yarn tail just so I have less weaving in to do at the end, which is always a win, I think. So I'm just gonna crochet over that one. Oops, let's grab the yarn, and that's 1 single crochet. Feel free to pop in your stitch marker if you would like, just to keep track of where you've started. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now your stitch count will obviously be a little bit different to mine depending on the size of your dog, so just keep single crocheting until you get to the end. 66. So now that you're done with your single crochet row, let's slip stitch into the first single crochet that you did. I'm just going to grab that there and single crochet just to connect it all together. Now we're going to set up the layer for our crocodile stitch. So you can either chain 2 or 3 depending on what you like to do for double crochets. My personal preference is 2, but if you prefer 3, do that. So we've got a chain 2 or chain 3 to begin our row, and in that same stitch let's do another double crochet. So that first single crochet that we just slipped into, we're doing a second stitch, which is a double crochet. So that chain 2 or chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet, and then we've just worked a second one. So we've got 2 double crochets in the 1 stitch. Now we're going to chain 1, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and work 1 double crochet into the 3rd one there, like that. Chain 1 again, skip 2 and work 2 double crochets into that 3rd one there. Like that. Chain 1, skip the next two, and 1 double crochet into that one there. Chain 1, skip the next two, 2 double crochets into that one there. And we basically repeat this until we get to the other side. Basically, you should end on 1 single crochet because we've done 2 here, and then we're going to chain 1 and slip stitch into this one to connect it all together. I'll see you at the end of this round. So I'm at the end now. I have the last 2 stitches that I can skip, so I'm just going to chain 1 after my single double crochet, and I'm going to slip stitch into the chain 2 that we did, or chain 3, whatever, and we should now have something that looks like this. So into the V's that you've created with the 2 double crochets, we are going to work our dragon stitch. So the first one here is made up of our chains plus our second double crochet. We're going to work through the post, so basically going in like this and working 5 double crochets. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pop my hook through the post like that. So I now have my chain 2 sitting on my hook. Yarn over and pull it through to the other side like that. And I'm going to finish my first double. That's 1 done. And I'm going to do that 4 more times. So yarn over, go through the post like that, yarn over, pull through to the other side, complete my second double, yarn over, go through the post again, bring the loop through to the other side, finish my third double, do that 1 more time, 4, and the last time, 5. So we should have something now that looks like this on your chain 2 or chain 3. And now we're going to chain 3 and flip our work. So we're actually looking at the other double crochet here in the V. And now we're going to work 5 more doubles into that post. I can just get that on my hook to show you. So we're going to be doing basically the same thing. So going through the post of that double crochet and working 5 more doubles. So I'm going to yarn over, go through the loop, yarn over, pull through to the other side, and complete my first double. Do that 4 more times. 3, 4, and 5. So we should now have a scale that looks like this. I'm now going to slip stitch into the top of that single double crochet that we did, just to anchor that first scale down. So just slip stitch. And now in our second V here, we are going to work another scale. So yarn over and through the post of that first V, the first double crochet that's closest to you, we are going to work 5 doubles. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now chain 3 and into the next double we are going to work 5 more doubles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And into that single crochet, that single double there, we are going to slip stitch. And we are basically going to repeat that those scale steps until we get to the other end. And I'll see you when you get there. Once you've finished your last one, we're going to anchor that one as well as the start of the first scale to this single double crochet. So we're just going to go through the top of that first one and then go into that single double crochet like we normally would to anchor it, and slip stitch to complete. And that is your first row of scales done. You should have something like this. Now let's move on to our second setup round, and we're going to start by chaining either 2 or 3, whatever your preference is. Mine is 2. And essentially we're going to be doing the double or the 2 double crochets in between each of these scales. So we've chained 2 here, and we're going to work another double crochet into that same stitch there, so we end up with 2. And this is the V, or the 2 doubles, that we will be working into in the next round to create another scale. So the scale will sort of sit in between these 2. And now we're going to chain 1, and in the middle of the scale, in that stitch there, we are going to work 1 double crochet. Like that. Chain 1 again. Now in between these 2, in that stitch there, we are going to work 2 double crochets. That's 1, and that's 2. Now chain 1. In the middle of that one, we're going to work just 1. Chain 1 again, and in the middle, in between these 2, we're going to work 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Chain 1. In the middle of that one, just work a single double crochet. Chain 1 again, and between these 2, we're going to work 2 doubles. 1 and 2. Chain 1 again. The middle of that one, just a single double crochet. Chain 1, 2 double crochets between those 2 scales. Chain 1, a single double crochet there. Chain 1, 2 double crochets in there. Chain 1, 1 double crochet in the center of that scale. Chain 1, 2 double crochets in between those 2. Chain 1, 1 double crochet in the center there. Chain 1 and 2 in there. Chain 1, 1 double crochet in the center of that one. Chain 1, 2 double crochets there. Chain 1, 1 double crochet in there. Chain 1, 2 double crochets in there. Oops, I think I've gone through that one. 2 double crochets in here. 1 and 2. Chain 1, 1 double crochet in the center of this one. Chain 1 and 2 double crochets in there. Chain 1 again. 1 double crochet in the center, chain 1, 2 double crochets between those 2 scales. Oops. Chain 1 and 1 in this. Oops, actually, ignore me, I did it a bit too much. So you should have ended up with the single chain there, and then you've got the double here that you started with. And now we just want to go through and slip stitch into the chain 2 that you did to start this round. So that's the first V there, that's the last single double that you created, and you've sort of got another setup round to do your next lot of scales. So the scales, similar to the previous round, we are going to work around the post of our chain 2 or chain 3. We're going to work 5 double crochets into that one, chain 3, and then work 5 double crochets into the post of the next one in there. So every V that we have, or every set of 2 doubles, we are going to do a scale. So it's 1 double, 2 doubles, 3 doubles, 4, and our last one, which is 5, chain 3, and turn our work so we can sort of see the other post, which is that one there. And now into that post we're going to work 5 more doubles, just like we did in the first chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that is our first scale of the second round. It sits in between those 2 and looks very pretty. Now that single double crochet there, we're going to slip stitch into it to anchor our first scale down. And similar to the previous round, we're just going to repeat those steps all the way around until we get to the other end. Once you have done your last scale of this round, we're going to anchor that one and the first one to that single double crochet there using a slip stitch. So just go into that one on the top and then into that double crochet stitch and slip stitch to anchor. And that is our second row of scales done. You can see how pretty it's turning out to be. And we're basically just going to repeat those steps until we have the desired length. So chain 2 or chain 3, whichever you prefer, into that same stitch, we are going to do a double crochet. So that's our 2 doubles, because the chain counts as a double, that we will be working our next scale into in the next round. And it will sort of just like stack in between each one and look really pretty. Chain 1, and into the middle there, just do a single 1 double crochet, chain 1 again, in between that one, do 2 doubles, and like we did for the previous rounds, we're just going to literally repeat that step around, slip stitch into that one, then work our scales and continue that until you have the length that you like. We will be doing ribbing on the other end, so just leave a little bit of space. You don't want it to be too long for your dog's neck. But yeah, basically continue that, do as many scale rows as you like, and I will see you when you are done with that. Once you've done your last row of scales and have slip stitched the ends together, we are going to do a row of single crochets just to set up the ribbing row and make it a little bit easier. So in each half of the scale, you're going to do 2 single crochets. So we're going to do 1 in there and 2, And I would recommend just putting a stitch marker into your first one just to keep track of the start and end of your row. So that's 2 single crochets done. And then in the middle here, we're going to do another single crochet. In the other half of it, we're going to do 2 single crochets. In between these two, we're going to do 1 single crochet. On this half of the scale, 2 single crochets. One single crochet in the middle there. 2 single crochets on this half. One single crochet between those 2 scales there. And basically continue that all the way around until you get to the other end, and I'll see you when you get there. Once you've completed your row of single crochets, go ahead and get rid of that stitch marker. You won't need it anymore. And now we're basically going to do the ribbing similar to how we did it at the start of the row. So chain the same number of chains that you did to begin this project. I did a ribbing of 5 stitches plus 1 turning chain, so I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now skipping the first chain on the hook, I'm going to single crochet back on the 5 remaining chains. And the 5th one there. And now you are going to slip stitch into the next 2 single crochets. So that's the first one that we created. So I'm just going to go in there and slip stitch to anchor that down. And slip stitch into the next one as well. And now we're going to turn our work, and in the back loops of the single crochets that you just did, we are going to do 5 single crochets, or if you've done different length of ribbing, just do that number of single crochets. So I'm just going to go into the back loop and do the 5. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I go in here, single crochet, 2, 3, 4, and the last one, number 5. Then I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and in the back loops of the single crochets I just created, 2 more single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last one, number 5. Now in the next 2, slip stitch, just to anchor that down. That's 1 slip stitch and number 2. Turn your work, in the back loops, single crochet. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, go into that one. Two, 3, 4, and my last one. Chain 1, turn my work in the back loops to single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In the next 2 stitches, I'm going to slip stitch. Turn your work and basically repeat that for the entire length of your snood. So you're going to do single crochets in the back loop, then chain 1, single crochets in the back loop, slip stitch on the next 2 stitches, turn your work, and basically repeat. I will see you when you get to the end. Once you're done with your ribbing row, you should have something like this. We are going to connect the 2 ends using a slip stitch. So to do that, we are going to go through both loops of the single crochet that we did on the starting row, both loops of the single crochet from the last row that we just did, and slip stitch together, and continue that for the length of your ribbing. So I've got 5 stitches, so I will do it 5 times. That's the second slip stitch, number 3, and my last one, 5. Fasten off and you are done with your dragon snood. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one.